The OSEP applicant webinar for the state technical assistance projects to improve services and results for deafblind children and the National Technical Assistance and Dissemination Center for Deafblind Children. My name is Susan Weigert. This webinar will be recorded, and if you have questions following the webinar, please just email me at the email address listed in slide number 1. I want to say regarding the webinar that the slides in the webinar are for general guidance only, and the information that I'm going to give you has been highly summarized due to the logistics of this webinar. But please read the entire 2023 326T application package in its entirety before applying for this grant opportunity. And also take a look at the common instructions for Department of Education discretionary grant programs. Those 2 links have been embedded in the slide number 2. So the timeline for this competition, the notice went out on December 19, 2022. The deadline for submitting applications is February 17, 2023, by about a minute before midnight. And the deadline for intergovernmental review, that is our review, is April 18. The grantees will be announced and the funding will be distributed by October 1, 2023. So if you look at the application package contents, you'll see it has a number of items in it. Please do read that entire package. You'll see the applicant letter, the notice itself, the grants.gov system submission procedures, the priority description, the selection criteria, general information on how to complete an application, how to transmit it, and the required forms and instructions. So it's a long package. Please read it carefully. And now I want to tell you a little bit about the programs that are funding this competition. The purpose of the funding programs, there are 2 departmental programs that fund this priority, and those are the Technical Assistance and Dissemination to Improve Services and Results for Children with Disabilities program, we call it the TA&D program, and the Personnel Development to Improve Services and Results for Children with Disabilities, the PD program. So I will tell you a little bit about the purposes of those 2 programs, those general funding programs. The purpose of the TA&D program is to promote academic achievement and improve results for children with disabilities by providing technical assistance, supporting model demonstration, and disseminating useful information, and implementing activities that are supported by scientifically based research. Now, the purpose of the Professional Development Program is to help address state-identified needs for personnel preparation in special education and in early intervention related services and general education, to work with children, including infants, toddlers, and youth with disabilities, and also to ensure that those personnel have the necessary skills and knowledge derived from practices that have been determined through scientifically based research to be successful in serving those children. So the purpose of this priority is to establish and operate state technical assistance projects to improve services and results for deafblind children, and also a National Technical Assistance and Dissemination Center for deafblind children that will provide technical assistance and support to those state projects. So I want to tell you a little bit about the purposes of the state deafblind grants. The state deafblind projects to improve services and results for deafblind children, or the state deafblind projects, will help SEAs, Part C lead agencies, LEAs, including charter school LEAs, early intervention providers, teachers, service providers, and families to address the educational related services, transitional and early intervention needs of deafblind children. The state deafblind projects are designed to increase access to and progress in the grade level general education curriculum, including grade level or alternate academic achievement standards for deafblind children, and to improve their communication skills with a goal of supporting lifelong learning, including post-secondary education and employment readiness. The National Technical Assistance and Dissemination Center for Deafblind Children, or the National Center, will provide technical assistance and support to those state deafblind projects in addressing these needs. This support includes providing specialized technical assistance, training, centralized product development and dissemination, and informational services to agencies and organizations, professionals, families, and others involved in providing services to deafblind children. And so for the purpose of this competition, the department has separated the absolute priority into two focus areas: state deafblind projects, that is focus area A, and a national center, which is focus area B. So applicants must identify whether they are applying under focus area A or focus area B or both. The program and certain application requirements for the two focus areas may differ. So applicants must ensure that they have met all applicable requirements for the relevant focus area. Some of those requirements are actually the same under focus area A and B, and I will tell you which is which. So in terms of eligible applicants, the requirements are the same. State educational agencies, or SEAs, state lead agencies under Part C of IDEA, LEAs, including public charter schools that are considered LEAs under state law, institutes of higher education, other public agencies, private nonprofit organizations, freely associated states and outlying areas, Indian tribes or tribal organizations, and for-profit organizations are all eligible for both focus area A and B. Under focus area A only, however, a non-state educational agency applicant must include a letter of support from the SEA indicating that the SEA will work with the applicant if the applicant is awarded the grant. So a little more about eligible applicants under focus area A. So with respect to focus area A, in order to provide SEAs with greater flexibility in how technical assistance is delivered and to ensure high-quality technical assistance, individual states have the following options. They can participate as a member of a multi-state consortium, or they can apply directly for funds as a single state. So eligible applicants for funds awarded under focus area A of the priority may be an entity serving a multi-state consortium or a single state. Also eligible applicants under focus area A are invited to submit single state applications or be a member of a consortium application to provide deafblind TA services to individual states. And if a state is included in more than one application as a member of a consortium or submits an individual state application, and more than one application is determined to be fundable for that state, the state will be given the option to choose the award, either the individual state or the consortium, under which it will receive funding. A state may not be funded under multiple awards. So the funding levels, focus area A state projects. The total amount of funding available is $9,500,000 for 54 estimated awards. So in determining the maximum funding levels for each state, the Secretary considered, among other things, the following factors. 1, the total number of children from birth to age 21 in that state. 2, the number of children in poverty in that state. 3, the previous funding levels. 4, the minimum funding amounts. And 5, the travel costs associated with serving the geographic location of the state. The project period is up to 60 months. So I want to talk about allowable indirect costs under focus area A, the state projects. The grantee may recover the lesser of two things. 1, its actual indirect costs as determined by the grantee's negotiated indirect cost rate, and 2, 10% of its modified total direct costs. So if a grantee's allocable indirect costs exceed 10% of its modified total direct costs, the grantee may not recoup the excess by shifting that cost to other grants or contracts with the U.S. government unless specifically authorized by legislation. The grantee must use non-federal revenue sources to pay for such unrecovered costs. This limit on indirect cost rate does not apply to a grantee under Focus Area B. Again, in Focus Area A, state project funding levels, you need to note that while the maximum award values for a 12-month period were listed in the notice inviting applications recently published, the Assistant Secretary for Special Education and Rehabilitation Services may change the maximum award through a notice published in the Federal Register. Focus Area B, National Center funding levels. The total amount of federal funds available is $2,100,000. We have one estimated award, and the project period again is up to 60 months. Now I would like to tell you a little bit about competition information only for Focus Area A state projects. I'll cover the expected project outcomes for those state projects and the administrative requirements for those state projects. So in terms of expected project outcomes for Focus Area A, the state DeafBlind projects funded under the priority must achieve at a minimum the following expected outcomes. A, provide technical assistance and training on improving outcomes to personnel who serve deafblind children. Increase early identification and referral of deafblind children for appropriate services and supports. Facilitate emerging and developing literacy and numeracy for deafblind children by promoting access to the grade level general education curriculum, including grade level or alternate academic achievement standards, through the use of high quality practices. D, to expand support to deafblind children and their families during the transition to post-secondary education or employment. E, to increase support to families of deafblind children to facilitate their involvement in early intervention, education, and transition opportunities. F, in collaboration with the National Center, collect information to provide a state-by-state needs assessment. And G, for states that use or plan to use certified interveners, projects in those states will collaborate with the National Center to increase the number of qualified interveners within the state who have demonstrated skills to support and improve the educational, social, and communication outcomes of deafblind children. Next, I want to focus on some of the administrative requirements for Focus Area A. So to be considered for funding under Focus Area A, the state deafblind grants, applicants must meet a number of application and administrative requirements published in the priority. So I advise you to carefully review and respond to all of the application and administrative requirements that begin on page B8 of the application package posted on grants.gov. So there are a number of administrative requirements which describe information that you will need to include in your grant application, such as, I'm going to give you a number of examples, but this is not a complete list. For example, to provide school and district personnel with the training and information needed to develop and implement individualized supports to ensure that deafblind children have equitable access to the general education curriculum and to grade level and alternate achievement standards as appropriate. Another example is to explain how you will work with OSEP-funded state parent training and information centers, the PTIs, to ensure that a diverse group of family members and caregivers of deafblind children have the training and information needed to establish, maintain, and improve productive partnerships with teachers, school administrators, and service providers. Other examples are to show how you will ensure equal access and treatment for members of underrepresented populations, identify the needs of your intended recipients for technical assistance and information, to ensure that services meet the needs of those intended recipients of the grant by providing measurable intended project outcomes, and to base your services on current research and to make use of high-quality practices. So those are just examples, and the full list should be in the application itself. The next section, I'd like to just review some competition information for Focus Area B, the National Center, both the expected project outcomes and the administrative requirements. So the expected project outcomes for the National Center, funded under Focus Area B, is for the National Center to work with the state deafblind projects to ensure that family members and caregivers, early intervention service providers, special and general education teachers, interveners, and related service personnel have access to the specialized training and tools needed to support the educational, communication, and socialization needs of deafblind children. The center must achieve, at a minimum, the following expected outcomes. First, expand communication and coordination across the State Deafblind Project TA network to improve outcomes for deafblind children. B, expand the development of training modules to support personnel development of teachers, related service providers, and interveners. C, expand the body of knowledge and use of high-quality practices to facilitate emerging and developing literacy and numeracy for deafblind children. D, facilitate increased family involvement in the early intervention, education, and transition opportunities for the diverse population of deafblind children by disseminating culturally and linguistically responsive information and providing equitable opportunities for networking and engagement with deafblind family organizations. E, to collaborate with state deafblind projects to facilitate the early intervention of children with dual sensory impairment in the state, to ensure that their families, teachers, and other service providers can receive appropriate services provided by the state deafblind projects. And F, collaborate with the state deafblind projects to provide a state-by-state needs assessment that includes disability and demographic information and trends to ensure that the state deafblind projects and those they serve receive high-quality, appropriate resources and services. Next, I'd like to focus a little bit on the administrative requirements for Focus Area B. So to be considered for funding under this priority, the applicants must meet a number of application and administrative requirements published in the priority, and you are advised to carefully review and respond to all of the application and administrative requirements beginning on page B14 of the application package posted on grants.gov. So now I'd like to review some administrative requirements for Focus Area B. Administrative requirements associated with Focus Area B include information you'll want to include in your grant application, such as the following examples. You'll need to explain how the proposed National Center will address the current and emerging needs of state deafblind projects, SEAs, LEAs, LAs, EIS providers, and organizations serving deafblind children to ensure they have the training and information needed to implement and sustain high-quality, equitable, effective, and efficient systems that have the implementation supports in place to ensure deafblind children have access to and progress in the grade level general education curriculum, including grade level or alternate academic achievement standards, and have access to high quality educational and early intervention and developmental opportunities that lead to successful transitions to post-secondary education or employment. Also among these administrative requirements, you'll need to describe how the National Center will improve educational outcomes for deafblind children, including those from underrepresented populations, and indicate the likely magnitude or importance of these outcomes. Also, you'll describe how the project will use a conceptual framework and provide a copy in Appendix A to develop project plans and activities describing any underlying concepts, assumptions, expectations, beliefs, or theories, as well as the presumed relationships or linkages among these variables, and any empirical support for this framework, and also be based on current research and make use of evidence-based practices. Note that many of the administrative requirements have sub-requirements, such as the following. Develop products and provide services that are of high quality and sufficient intensity and duration to achieve the intended outcomes of the proposed project. And to address this requirement, the applicant must describe how it proposes to identify or develop and expand the knowledge base pertaining to the development of communicative competence of deafblind children, how the proposed project will collaborate with higher education institutions, and how the proposed project will collaborate with the OSEP-funded National Center on Educational Outcomes to incorporate information on including deafblind children who have significant cognitive disabilities in state and district-wide assessment systems. So now I'd like to focus on some competition information for both areas, both focus areas A and B. And these are the same for focus area A and B for selection criteria, application requirements, and general requirements. So the selection criteria for the two focus areas is the same. For significance, there'll be 10 points. The quality of project services will be worth 35 points. The quality of project evaluation will be worth 20 points. The adequacy of resources and quality of project personnel will be 15 points. The quality of the management plan will be 20 points. And the total number of points will be 100 points. So let's talk about the significance of the project. When considering the significance of the proposed project, the Secretary considers the following factors. 1, the extent to which specific gaps or weaknesses in services, infrastructure, or opportunities have been identified and will be addressed by the proposed project, including the nature and magnitude of those gaps and weaknesses. And 2, the importance or magnitude of the results or outcomes likely to be attained by the proposed project. In determining the quality of the services to be provided by the proposed project, the Secretary considers the quality and sufficiency of strategies for ensuring equal access and treatment for eligible project participants who are members of groups that have traditionally been underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. In addition, the Secretary considers the following factors: the extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes to be achieved by the proposed project are clearly specified and measurable, and the extent to which there is a conceptual framework underlying the proposed research or demonstration activities and the quality of that framework. The Secretary considers the quality of services to be provided by the proposed project. In determining the quality of the services to be provided by the proposed project, the Secretary considers the quality and sufficiency of strategies for ensuring equal access and treatment for eligible project participants who are members of groups that have traditionally been underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. And in addition, the Secretary considers the following factors: the extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes to be achieved by the proposed project are clearly specified and measurable, the extent to which there is a conceptual framework underlying the proposed research or demonstration activities and the quality of that framework, the extent to which the services to be provided by the proposed project reflect up-to-date knowledge from research and effective practice, the extent to which the services to be provided by the proposed project are appropriate to the needs of the intended recipients or beneficiaries of those services, and the extent to which the TA services to be provided by the proposed project involve the use of efficient strategies, including the use of technology as appropriate and the leveraging of non-project resources. Next, I'll talk about the quality of the evaluation plan, which is worth 20 points. The Secretary considers the quality of the evaluation to be conducted of the proposed project. And in determining the quality of the evaluation, the Secretary considers the following factors. One, the extent to which the methods of evaluation are thorough, feasible, and appropriate to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the proposed project. The extent to which the methods of evaluation provide for examining the effectiveness of project implementation strategies. In determining the quality of the evaluation, the Secretary considers the following factors. The extent to which the methods of evaluation will provide performance feedback and permit periodic assessment of progress toward achieving intended outcomes, and the extent to which the methods of evaluation include the use of objective performance measures that are clearly related to the intended outcomes of the project and will produce quantitative and qualitative data to the extent possible. Next, I'd like to talk about the adequacy of project resources and the quality of project personnel, which is worth 15 points. So the Secretary considers the adequacy of resources for the proposed project and the quality of the personnel who will carry out the proposed project. So in determining the quality of project personnel, the Secretary considers the extent to which the applicant encourages applications for employment from persons who are members of groups that have traditionally been underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. In addition, the Secretary considers the following factors: the qualifications, including relevant training and experience of the project director or principal investigator, the qualifications, including relevant training and experience of key project personnel, the adequacy of support, including facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources from the applicant organization or the lead applicant organization, and the extent to which the costs are reasonable in relation to the objectives, design, and potential significance of the proposed project. Next, I'd like to talk about the quality of the management plan, which is worth 20 points. The Secretary considers the quality of the management plan for the proposed project, and in determining the quality of the management plan for the proposed project, the Secretary considers the following factors. First, the adequacy of the management plan to achieve the objectives of the proposed project on time and within budget, including clearly defined responsibilities, timelines, and milestones for accomplishing project tasks. The extent to which the time commitments of the project director and principal investigator and other key project personnel are appropriate and adequate to meet the objectives of the proposed project. The adequacy of mechanisms for ensuring high-quality products and services from the proposed project, and how the applicant will ensure that a diversity of perspectives are brought to bear in the operation of the proposed project, including those of parents, teachers, the business community, a variety of disciplinary and professional fields, recipients or beneficiaries of services, or others as appropriate. So next, I'd like to just focus on the application requirements. Include in Appendix A a logic model for the project. Also include in Appendix A a personnel loading chart and timelines as applicable to illustrate the management plan described in the narrative. Include in the budget travel funds to support the project director's attendance at meetings sponsored by OSEP as specified in the priority at a minimum. Maintain a website that meets government or industry recognized standards for accessibility. Ensure that annual progress toward meeting project goals is posted on the project website. And transfer of pertinent resources and products, if appropriate, at the end of the grant. So next, I want to focus on some general requirements. Recipients of funding under this competition must make positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities. Each applicant for and recipient of funding under the program must involve individuals with disabilities or parents of individuals with disabilities, ages birth through 26, in planning, implementing, and evaluating the project. The applicant must describe steps to ensure equitable access to and participation in its programs for students, teachers, and other program beneficiaries with special needs. The applicant must ensure that the budget includes attendance of the project director at a 3-day project directors meeting in Washington, D.C. during each year of the project. Finally, I'd like to go over some submission information, applicant submission, and some tips on submission. The applications must be submitted electronically using grants.gov. Applications may not be submitted via email. And as we've said before, the applications must be submitted no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on February 17, 2023. The application narrative sections and all other attachments to the application must be uploaded as a PDF read-only, non-modifiable format file. So read carefully the grants.gov submission procedures and tips for applicants found on page B41 of the application package. Also, the chart on page B24 provides a table of estimated award values for the state DeafBlind projects. As noted earlier, the maximum award amounts may change through a notice published in the Federal Register. The maximum funding level for the national grant is $2,100,000 for each 12-month project period. The applicants must not exceed the published budgeted amounts in your budget requests. We recommend that you limit the application narrative to no more than 70 pages for the Technical Assistance Center and 50 pages for the state projects. So use the following standards. A page is 8.5 by 11 on one side only, with 1-inch margins at the top, bottom, and sides. Double space, that is no more than 3 lines per vertical inch. All text in the application narrative, including titles, headings, footnotes, quotations, reference citation, captions, as well as all text in charts, tables, figures, graphs, and screenshots. The recommended page limit does not apply to the cover sheet, the budget section, including the narrative budget justification, the assurances and certifications, or the abstract. So you should follow the guidance provided in the application package for completing the abstract, table of contents, the list of priority requirements, the resumes, the reference list, the letters of support, or the appendices. However, the recommended page limit does apply to all of the application narrative, including all text in charts, tables, figures, graphs, and screenshots. We recommend that you use a font that is 12 points or larger and use one of the following fonts: Times New Roman, Courier, Courier New, or Arial. Some information about Appendix A. Reviewers will be instructed to review the content of Appendix A. Charts, tables, figures, graphs, screenshots, and logic models that provide information directly relating to the application requirements for the narrative should be the only items in Appendix A. Appendix A should not be used for supplementary information. Please note that charts, tables, figures, graphs, screenshots, and logic models can be single-spaced when placed in Appendix A or any appendix. Submission tips are to register early. Grants.gov may take 5 or more business days to complete. Be sure that your registration with the System for Award Management, or SAM, is current. Submit your application early. Do not wait until the last day to submit the application. Grants.gov will put a date or timestamp on your application and then process it after it is fully uploaded. So verify that grants.gov has received your submission on time and that it was validated successfully. So that is the end of this webinar. Please let me know. My email address is in the last slide. If you have any questions, it is best to email me. and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.